So yeah, obviously coming through the youth ranks at Leicester and your hometown club, and it's got to be a sensational experience. Did it ever feel surreal at any point, or was it kind of what you were used to and just the normal?
Yeah, so the way I got in at Leicester, so Peter Taylor was the manager when I
Yeah,
started to get near the first team. And Peter Taylor, I had about a year left on my contract, I think. And Peter Taylor called me in his office, and the first team at the time was shocking. They were
yeah,
doing awful. They were down near the bottom of the table. Adi Akibai, he was a great mate of mine, but he couldn't score at the time. The team was quite old and sort of dated. There were lots of injuries. So
yeah,
I was doing really well for the reserve team. So I thought now is my opportunity.
yeah,
And I was training with the first team and doing well. And lots of players were saying to me, you're going to get an opportunity. You're going to get an opportunity. So I thought, I'm going to speak to the manager then. So I spoke to Peter Taylor and he said, listen, I don't want to let you down, but we think we're going to offer you a new contract, but it's not going to be as much as what we're offering Jordan Stewart, Matt Heath, Martin Reeves, sort of all the guys
yeah,
that were the same age as me. We're going to offer you half as much as we've offered them because we see them as first team players at Leicester City in the Premier League in the future. We don't, unfortunately, see that with you, but we want to re-sign you. So when a League One, League Two side comes in for you, we'll be able to recoup some money for you.
yeah,
So basically telling me that he didn't believe in me and he didn't think I'd get in the first team. He got sacked about 3 weeks after that meeting. And my reserve team manager at the time, Gary Parker, said, I've got the job for one night
yeah.
before Mickey Adams and Dave Bassett came in, and I'm going to start you against Leeds in the League Cup. So to answer your question in a long roundabout way, it was really surreal because I was so far away from the first team under one manager. 3 weeks later, I'm a starting first 11 player for the first team, and
Yeah.
that's sort of how my career started. So it did feel really surreal going from playing reserve team and youth team football, and
Yeah.
then within 3 weeks being sort of a first team player.
Yeah, I suppose that one big break is all it takes, really, isn't it?
Yeah, I tell you, mate, a lot of it comes down to listen. If you've got skills like Lionel Messi or Cristiano Ronaldo when you're growing up, you're going to make it as a footballer
Yeah.
as long as you don't get injured. But I think there's a lot of guys like me and the skill set of someone like me that needs a little bit of luck on the way.
Yeah.
Um, and if it doesn't quite happen for you and you don't quite get that look, as I did, you can go through life not experiencing what it's like to be a professional footballer, because I grew up with a lot of lads around 15, 16 that were probably better than me or as good as, and they didn't make it. They didn't get the
Yeah.
breaks that I got. So luck definitely plays a part in it.
I suppose that ties into my next question quite nicely, which is what advice would you have for people getting to 14, 15, 16 years old, really wanting to pursue a career in football, but obviously it's only the 1% that can make it? Do you think there should be more emphasis placed on, backup routes outside of football for if an injury does kind of force them out of the sport?
Yeah, without doubt. And that's one of so my biggest passion now is not the commentary of Leicester. I love doing it, but that's not my biggest passion. My biggest passion is something called FSD that I started in 2017, which is for 16 to 19 year olds, that offers an education, a life skills program, and a football program.
Yeah.
And why I started that up is because I wasn't interested in education whatsoever growing up. Like 99% of the footballers that have made it, haven't made it. When you're that football minded, you don't generally tend to concentrate on your education because you think you're going to grow up and be a footballer.
Yeah.
And as in my story, I made it, but at 25, I got injured and had to finish my career and had nothing to fall back on.
Yeah.
So that was really important for me to emphasize that point to the next generation that education, life skills, how you hold yourself in social settings is just as important as trying to be a footballer. Because as we all know, if you don't make it, like most don't, you're going to have to go in a different direction. And if you haven't got any of them skills that I've just spoke about, you're going to struggle in life to find what you want to do.
Yeah, I mean, obviously your spell at Sunderland was mainly overcast by that injury. What advice would you give to players just going through injuries, maybe not at the top level, but in academy football and the lower leagues?
So what really helped me, because I was sort of injured throughout my whole career, really. I played the first 13 games in the Premier League when I signed for Sunderland. And then it was sort of 2 games here, injured again, 3 games, 6 months later, injured again. And what I learned after about the 3rd time that I got a long-term injury is that you can still develop as a footballer, as a person, as a human being, whilst you can't play the game that you love. So what I mean by that is, so what I used to do, I used to go on YouTube. I used to read books on football, on coaching, on trying to develop myself in different ways that wasn't just attached to being out on the football pitch.
Yeah.
And when I came back, every time I was a much better player, because I understood the tactics of the game more. I understood my position more. I understood different tricks and skills that you learn in your mind first before you learn out on the football pitch.
Yeah.
So my biggest advice for anyone that gets injured is people think, oh, I'm injured now, so life stops, football stops, development stops. It doesn't.
It all goes on.
It all goes on, and that's really important, I think.
Yeah. I mean, moving on to some more personal highlights for you. Obviously, scoring the last goal at Filbert Street's got to be up there. Where does that sort of rank in your career highlights? And do you ever replay that moment in your head? And if that's not the highlight, then what is?
No, well, to be fair, in a short career, and one that hasn't got many highlights in it, I won the championship with Sunderland, which was really big for me. I played 14 games that season, so I contributed to it, even though not that much. The rule was from the league that you have had to play 15 games to get a championship medal. But a manager gets 3 discretionary medals that he can give out on top of the squad medals that he gives out.
Right.
And he gave me one, Mick McCarthy at Sunderland, because he said that I contributed some, really important moments throughout that season, even though I wasn't playing that much. So that was big for me, being a part of that championship winning team. I got to a semi-final with Sunderland, semi-final of the FA Cup, played at Old Trafford. We lost 1-0 to Millwall. And they went on to play in the final, obviously, and lost against Man U. So going deep into that competition was a big highlight. But yeah, you've nailed it, mate. The biggest highlight of my career, and I didn't even really realise it at the time. I just really wanted to score my first Premier League goal. So yeah, I scored that header, and then sort of as time's gone on, that goal has become much more important to me, if you understand what I mean.
Yeah.
When you first score it, you're just buzzing because you've scored a Premier League goal. And then over the years, because I'm not stupid, I realise I think I played 23 times for the first team at Leicester, substitute appearances and first team appearances. And there's a lot of guys and youngsters that have come into the side, played that amount of games, a few less or a few more even, and really, the fan base at Leicester don't remember them really, unless prompted. So that goal, it gave me a little place in the sort of folklore of the football club, I think, which I feel blessed to have that, because obviously I'm a Leicester lad, and that goal means a lot to me.
Yeah, and to have your name kind of affiliated with Filbert Street going forwards is obviously quite special.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a weird story about that goal because, as I say, I wanted to score my first Premier League goal, but at the time Dave Bassett was manager, and my contract was running out. I played in the Premier League on £375 a week when I scored that goal. And the week before, I went into his office and I asked for a new contract.
Yeah.
And I asked for £5,000 a week, £5,000 a week. So from £375 a week to £5,000 a week, which I thought was warranted because clearly I could play in the Premier League and was doing well. And he basically said, no, you're not getting it. He said, you've not even scored a Premier League goal yet. So I came out of that meeting and I thought, right, in that last game against Tottenham, not because I wanted to be the last goal scorer at Filbert Street,
but to prove a point.
I wanted to prove a point and score my first Premier League goal so I could say to him, you know, I've done it now. So give me the £5,000 a week. But in the end, we shook on £2,500 a week, and then I signed my new contract.
Yeah. I think that's all the questions I really had, to be honest. So unless there's anything that you'd like to add, we can end it there.